What is going on, folks? Admiral Tori here, and welcome aboard for another World of Warships video on my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be selling the Tier 6 American Light Cruiser, the Cleveland. Now, the Cleveland is probably the most known cruiser in this game, simply because that the Cleveland is definitely one of the best cruisers to earn in your docks. And the main reason why is that overall, the Cleveland doesn't have that much flaws, especially for being a Tier 6, except lacking the torpedo armaments like the Ioba, which has torpedo armors that can take down battleships or engage other cruisers. But yeah, the Cleveland. What can I really say about the Cleveland? The Cleveland is one of the most used ships in World War II also, because the Cleveland was extremely effective as a escort cruisers. And that's what the cruisers been used for the US and the entire Pacific theater. They were used to escort battleships and carriers when the Japanese engaged the United States during many battles. They really banked on the carriers, so they needed to build a ship that is capable of protecting their carriers or their capital ships in general, and that the Cleveland class came about. Now there's other class of light cruisers, I guess, or heavy cruisers that could be used to escort, but the Cleveland is surprisingly considered a light cruisers, and that's kind of mind-boggling, because light cruisers are usually lightly armored and they have small armaments, and that's what the Cleveland does have. It has a small armament, which is 152, I believe, 152 millimeter. Yes, 152 millimeter 47 caliber Mark 16 guns, and they tend to have a high fire rate for having a small guns. But what kind of mind boggles, or what really deceived a lot of players for the Cleveland being a light cruiser, is that it has serious armor. And the armor is what really appeals to me the most out of Cleveland, because there's no other cruiser I've played that has such great armor like the Cleveland. And I believe the Cleveland has great armor because her armor is pretty thick for a light cruiser. I think she might have the highest armor for a light cruiser class in this game at the moment. I don't know any other light cruiser that has more armor than the Cleveland, but there are ships that look bigger than the Cleveland from the cruiser line that has less armor than the Cleveland, and that's I'm referring to as a light cruiser. There's other light cruisers like the Atlanta. The Atlanta has way less armor than the Cleveland. I think the Cleveland should have something similar to Atlanta's armor, which is 13 to 89 millimeter, but the Cleveland does have some pretty nice armor, and I think that is why a lot of players love the Cleveland. When they bought the Cleveland, unlocked the Cleveland, played through the Cleveland, they just love the armor of the Cleveland. Now, another factor that a lot of people like about the Cleveland is her anti-air capabilities. Like I said, most of the USN ships that were built during World War II were designed to escort carriers and battleships. If you have a Cleveland and you're playing with a battleship, so you can certainly expect that the battleship would love you to death when you're going against the carriers, because Cleveland's probably has the best anti-air in her tier, and maybe even comparable to Tier 7, and especially when you put in a matchmaking against Tier 4 and 5 carriers, they're going to have troublesome time of dealing with a Cleveland when you're playing a carrier. Now, the only ship that I know that can actually outscale the Cleveland in that type of tier might be the USS Texas, which is one of the newer premium ship that has been released. The Texas is actually a New York class battleship, but she is the sister ship. She's the only ship that I know that can actually beat the Cleveland, but not entirely, because the Cleveland does have defensive fire, which gives it a edge over the Texas. And like I said, a Cleveland is a cruiser and is designed to escort battleships, so Texas can't really do much protecting your team. You can just do much more with the Cleveland, going from point A to point B when you need it. But overall, her support ability is top notch. There is no other ships that I know that can actually out-support the Cleveland in her tier. Now, some will argue the Ioba, some will argue the Nuremberg, and there's also the Tier 6 Soviet Bunyoni, I believe that's what you call from the Soviet line. Let's see, the Bunyoni. Yeah, the Bunyoni. Now, I have not played the Bunyoni, so I don't know how the Bunyoni performs, but I know for a fact that the Bunyoni has nowhere compared to the Cleveland's anti-air. The Ioba, I feel like the Ioba was designed to be a brawler overall, because she has big guns, torpedo armaments, and very nice armor for a Tier 6 heavy cruiser. For the German Nuremberg, it's kind of like a support, and I talked about how the Nuremberg in my Nuremberg video, that she plays like a support because her armor is not capable of dealing with other ships that well, but she still has a higher edge when it comes to brawling than, the Cleveland's role. Now the Cleveland can do what the Nuremberg can do, but Nuremberg just simply dishes out more damage when it comes to AP. But it doesn't take away the fact that the Cleveland is probably the most powerful tier 6 cruiser. If I don't want to say it's the most powerful, is one of the easier cruisers to play. And I certainly will recommend anybody to get the Cleveland. The Cleveland is probably one of the best ships to use as a coin grinder at the same time, because she's a low tier and you get placed in a low tier match. She's easy to play because she's simply very effective overall, except the lacking of torpedo armaments, but it's not the end of the world for not having torpedoes. Some ships are just gifted to have torpedoes, if you know what I'm saying. But the Cleveland, she has very good armaments, mainly due to the fact that her guns are triple gun setup with 12 of them total on the ship, and they fire very fast. Now the Cleveland is a light cruiser and she has small guns. You gotta keep that in mind, because Clevelands, although they're all mighty in most cases and a lot of people win against Clevelands, they are certainly not the best ship when it comes to long range engagement, and that's where the heavy cruisers shine. Now some people claim that the Cleveland should have been a tier 7 ship, and I can only agree half on that, because when the Cleveland first came out, she was extremely effective and her shell time, I believe, was much faster than today, because all the recent patches has finally nerfed the Cleveland to a tier 6 level. But the Cleveland, technically it should be a tier 6 ship, but could have been tier 7 and replace the Pensacola. Like I said, her shell time is very fast during the openings of the Cleveland, but nowadays, after many nerfs, her shell time is pretty slow. And this puts her at tier 6, because at tier 7, ships are pretty much more maneuverable. They have bigger guns, and if you're a tier 7 player, by now you should figure out how to deal with other ships. And that is Cleveland's biggest drawback, her range. Now, her guns certainly does have 15 kilometers or 14.5 kilometers, whatever it is, depending on how the Cleveland is. I think it's 14.6, it says on their stats. But back in the day, they had like 16 kilometer Cleveland until they nerfed the skill from the captain line. But back to the story, I digress too much, honestly. But the Cleveland, her guns, her shells just hangs too long, and it's the same way as the Atlanta, and that is a drawback. And that really puts her into the light cruiser category rather than any of the heavy cruisers. The reason why the Cleveland is not as effective as the Pensacola, from my experience, is that her guns hang too long. Her shells just hangs too long in the air. And when you're going against a tier 7 and above players, they know for a fact that if you see shells coming toward you, you're gonna try to evade the shells. And that's what most players should be doing when you reach tier 7, or have at least some experience on how to dodge shells, because you don't want to be taking shells from a cruisers anyway. You're trying to minimize the damage from the enemy. So yeah, the Cleveland shells just hangs too long to make her a effective tier 7 cruiser. And we're talking about engaging ships at 10 to 15 kilometers, because as you go through the higher tiers, your range starts to increase because of the advancement in the fire control system in the later ships. And at the same time, as you know, when you get in the higher tiers, you can't do as much as you want in the lower tiers. So if you're working with only 10 to 13 kilometers, you won't do so well against those higher tier ships, because battleships have 16-inch guns. If you get close to them, they will certainly penetrate your citadel. Every other cruisers that contest you in like tier 7 and 8, they probably have torpedo armaments, or they have very nice armor against the Cleveland. And remember, like I said, the Cleveland is a light cruiser, so one of the drawbacks for being a light cruiser is that your guns are small, can't really penetrate, meaning that you do less damage against ships who angle at you. I mean, like, if you play a heavy cruiser and you know for a fact that the other cruiser is angling at you, you can still do much more damage than a light cruiser. Light cruisers just keep bouncing and pretty much nullifies all the damage you do against the enemy. But with heavy cruisers, at least you can actually do some damage, even though your shells are ricocheting or your shells are just hitting superstructure, but they certainly do more damage than a light cruisers, unless you're playing the Atlanta, because the Atlanta just continues to shoot like no tomorrow. But yeah, the Cleveland. The reason why the Cleveland is not tier 7 is due to her guns, and you're going to go against higher skill player, and you will learn that you realize that although the Cleveland, you have much more fun time with the Cleveland compared to Pensacola from most players I hear for the feedbacks, it just will not scale that well against those other cruisers just due to her guns. But the armor, the health, the anti-air certainly plays like a tier 7-8 cruiser, and this is why a lot of people love Cleveland, is because her body overall is really solid as a cruiser. And the reason why a lot of people think that Cleveland was very powerful back in the day is because her guns played like a tier 7-8, but after her guns were nerfed, now she's more reasonable as a tier 6 cruiser. Now aside from that, overall, I think the Cleveland is a definitely recommended ship, and like I said, she's probably the most played ship on World of Warships. I remember at a time where during open beta, at least there's half the team to be a Cleveland. It's almost like the Tirpitz effect, because the Tirpitz, when the Tirpitz came out, I don't know how many people remember the Tirpitz, but 80% of the match ships, in each match, there's 80% of ships are Tirpitz, and that's kind of crazy because battleships should max out at 4 per team, so the maximum amount of battleships is usually 8, and there's some games where it goes beyond 8, but the Tirpitz broke the game, obviously, so matchmaking put like 9 Tirpitz in one game or 10. But the Cleveland, it had that similar effect at one point until it got nerfed severely to a point where it is a reasonable tier 6 ship. And in my list, for the tier 6 category compared to the Nuremberg and the Ioba, I think I like the Cleveland the most because I'm more of a support player, and also I enjoy the anti-air and armor on this ship. Now, the Ioba and other competitors can certainly beat the Cleveland if you play the Cleveland poorly, just because the Cleveland is overall an easier ship to play, much more powerful than your average cruiser. If you play it wrong in like any other ships, you're not going to do so well. No matter how well your ship is, your ship depends on who the captain is and how well your crew mans the ship. So aside from that, let's try to get 2 games today with the Cleveland and see how well she performs. Alrighty guys, we are in the match with the Cleveland. Now, it's been a while since I played World of Warships because I just got back from vacation, and even the guys, there's so many Clevelands in the game. Yeah, like I said, Cleveland is one of the popular cruisers to play on this game, so we could be expecting a lot of Cleveland to Cleveland engagement. But back to my point, I haven't been playing World of Warships for a fair amount of time, and patch 0.5.6 I think came out during my time at Thailand. So I certainly have not played on this map, and this is going to be the first. And this map is called Estuary Domination. Now, I'm looking at this map, and there is another map that recently came out. I forgot what was the map's name, but it looks like this map, but with more islands. So there's a good chance, I'm assuming, a good chance for people who already play this map, that there is the enemy team spawning very close to the flag. So there's a possibility that I might encounter the entire team, or the possibility I can encounter a fair amount of players, or basically nobody's there. Now I'm hoping that nobody's there and maybe some players or some enemies to face, or if I had to deal with the entire team, there's a good chance I might not make it alive. And holy crap, I almost rammed this guy. This Congo just cuts me. So it looks like our Cleveland, one of our Cleveland is actually going to go to D. He's going to be our surveillance. He's going to tell us that are there enemies on the other side of the map. Look at that. There is a Fuso. We're going to fire, put some salvos out. Luckily we got a Congo on our side, so we can actually do something against the Fuso. Playing light cruisers, you gotta lead a lot. That's the problem with having a long hang time. We're gonna pound this Cleveland like no tomorrow here. There's a Nicholas, I just spotted. Let's see. Good hits, 1,400. Another Cleveland has appeared out of nowhere. I should be really using AP, but my AP is just gonna bounce off the decks. It has to be close enough. That's the only way you can really use Cleveland, but you can certainly do AP. But I get more consistent results, and that's why I like consistency. Because sometimes you do a lot of damage, sometimes you just do no damage. But when you can do an average amount of damage over the course of time, then you can do better, honestly, in my opinion. And with HE, you can actually set things on fire, so that's nice. Our not Nürnberg, our Königsberg is gonna cut me here also. So we're gonna go in to decap with the Congo because, like I said, Cleveland is a very special show when it comes to escorting. Let's pop our fighter also. We might as well do that. We are going against the Rangers, so there's a good chance that might be a dive bomber come along, try to not shoot down, but dive bomb our Congo. But take advantage of an opportunity with battleships. When you see a battleship entering alone and he needs somebody to escort, take advantage of it because cruisers don't have a lot of health. Battleships do. And most of the time people like to focus battleships. So if you could act like a secondary ship to the battleship, do it. Because you're going to be rewarded big time. You can't do it. Honestly, you can't do everything alone, no matter how good of a cruiser you are. And yeah, there are times you can do things alone, but you just get way better results when you're going in with a battleship. Because right now, look at that. The Aoba is focusing our battleship. I'm going to fire back at the Aoba to let him know that you can't just do that. I'm not going to let you just do that. Now he's going to turn away because he realized that shells are coming toward him. So like that. I can't really do much at long distance, but if a player chooses to sail in a straight line, then yeah, I can do some damage or a lot of damage over a far distance. But having such a long shell hang time, it just proves to be not impossible, but difficult to actually get some decent results against a player who knows how to dodge shells. He doesn't sail in a straight line. Now, Königsberg got that destroyer under control, so we don't have to worry about our flanks. Now, Congo, just turn a little bit right to your starboard side and start heading toward that way. You can do that for me, that'd be nice. I mean, you're heading toward the edge of the map. We need to start heading to the center to capture B. Look at that. Those shells are just taking forever to get across the map. Now we got another fire set. Nice. 2 fires on that Fuso. I'm gonna fire until I get all my guns to bear here. He has not damage control to fire. Too much lead. It's rough, really rough. Too high, too low, too short, too long. All the adjectives you can think of. If I can get behind this island, that'd be great. So I can fire behind this island with immunity against that Fuso. Oba is really trying hard to try to hit me and do some damage, but I'm angled. So I'm not sure why he's trying really hard to AP me. Alright, he wasn't happy on the early parts of the game when I was firing at him. That's probably why he's focusing me. Yeah, just like that you can dodge my shells. Alright. And turn right here. And take down that Fuso. Oh, nice. I can shoot over the island here. Maybe I don't want to show myself yet. This Fuso's going fairly slow. I thought he would be going full speed or something. Looks like he's going slow, so I'm just gonna cut the lead here. Alright, now he's going full speed because he realized that there's a Cleveland behind his island firing at him. 15 hits. Alright, now he cuts speed, I think, because that Cleveland cut in front of him. I like to alternate my shots with the Cleveland, because one shell goes down and it gives me a good idea for the second salvo, and the second salvo gives me a good idea for the front of those shells, so my third salvo might be more accurate. Gives me an idea for how much I should lead. Alright, let's start moving. Looks like the enemy team stacked A, so we should start moving to C, I guess. Where else I'm supposed to go? So I'm not spotted yet. I'm gonna stay unspotted for a fair amount of time, and there's no... Although I can aim at the Fuso, there's just not enough room to work with to actually lead my shot, because I'm at my peak of range. Now if it was the previous patch, which is like long time ago, once upon a time there was a skill, I believe it's called the Advanced Firing Training, and it used to extend the range of cruisers from 155 or below to like 17 kilometers on the Cleveland, and on the Mogami like 18, which is why everyone loved that skill, but they nerfed that, so no more of that. Can't really do much at a distance, and I don't think it's really necessary to have such a distance shells. It's nice, but it's not imperative to have it to do well, because like I said, Lycras are designed for closer engagements. It's just that in the high tiers it's effective because a lot of ships like to, especially battleships, they tend to be stationary. They just can't do anything about destroyers. And this Ioba continues to shoot at me. Ioba, what motivates you to become one of the players who has a passion to hate for me? Like, I barely shoot at you. Why would you want to pick a fight with me all the time? They're all gonna bounce off the decks. It'd be a miracle if you actually sit on me from the front, but that's very small chance. And the thing about the Iowa, he doesn't have a lot of guns, so he's trying his best to hit me at a really angled position. Oh, we actually hit him. Nice. We're gonna grab C. It's gonna start the team, the enemy team with points. I thought we spotted a ranger. Oh, that one's from the Fuso, isn't it? That's gotta be from the Fuso. And he also blew off my turret. But like I said, I play Cleveland's as a support rather than a brawler. So I'm doing my job, escorting the Congo at first and grabbing flags whenever I can. And Cleveland's are very good at killing destroyers, so when a destroyer goes into a cap and he needs some backup, he'd be very glad to have a Cleveland or Atlanta alongside with him, because normally they usually win the destroyer battle in early match. And that's really the perfect time for you to use the Atlanta and Cleveland, is to use it in an early match as much as possible before the game starts to settle down. Try to set where everyone would be in most games and basically brawl their way into the end of the match. But in the early game, it's pretty crucial to get your Cleveland in a nice position with a destroyer, or if you can't find any destroyers, you just escort a battleship. And I got 93 hits, which is not that great in terms of what people wanting to see, I guess, because you want to see some damage going off, but we're winning the game in terms of points, and that's why I want to see here, in my opinion, because I want to win and demonstrate what you can do as a support. And let's pop our fighter, because that what do you call? Oh no, that is coming for me. That Fuso shell. They showed a perfect broadside. He missed every shot except that one. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna get triple team here. start picking up speed. Oh no. I'm gonna get game banged by 4 players. I gotta stay alive, honestly, because... Oh my gosh. Fuso and New York firing at me, and the enemy Cleveland. I can't really go undetected at this point because I'm within range of being detected, since my detection range is 13 kilometers. So I might as well fire on this New York. Can just get around this island. Try to change my course in a weird fashion so I can trick the enemy. Ow. There we go, we're undetected. Let's get out of here. I think that New York was detecting me this entire time. Oh. I'm gonna run aground here. That could have been bad, but we did it. So, nice. Enemy team can't do anything at this point. They're technically winning because they have more ships, right? But we have more flags. Doesn't matter. This is a game of who gets the flags. I find it funny how that Cleveland named himself Essex class when he's a Cleveland. He's chasing me. He's trying to pick on the lower Cleveland, if you want to say. Put it that way. And the Fuso. Ow. Oh, for a second I thought I died. There you have it, folks. My first game. This puts me in the 2nd place. Almost the 1st if I got some kills, but I was on the side with no kills. Well, not necessarily no kills, but the side where the enemy team didn't put that much ships, and they were basically retreating ever since we could capture the flag. See how much damage I did. 33,000 on the Fuso, 21,000 on New York. And some decent amount of damage on these other cruisers. Overall, we did 78,000 damage. Damage taken... Let's see, received 31,000? Really? We received 31,000? I feel like we received less than that, like 25,000. Credits. We got 127,000 credits, which is pretty good. Is that with premium, right? This is premium. Did the math, spent 59,000, but that's with all the premium consumables I bought, which is only the damage control. So 118 hits, 9 fires, and 2 flags captured, which is a nice way to play the Cleveland. Let's go one more round with the Cleveland, and I'm probably just gonna find a game where you can brawl with the Cleveland, because I know for a fact that people want to brawl more than actually capture a flag or support other ships. So I'm gonna play several games and pick the one that might be the best choice to showcase how well it brawls against other ships. But like I said, in most case scenario, I find that the Cleveland doesn't really brawl that much compared to like a heavy cruiser like the Aoba, due to the shell velocity being slow to get across the map, or actually more like the arc to be more exact or precise on what I'm trying to say. So aside from that, let's get one more game with the Cleveland. Okay, you guys, we're gonna go one more round with the tier 6 Cleveland. Now I'm playing a map called Strait. It is one of the common maps to play for the mid-tier ships, and it seems to me that on my team there is a lot of destroyers, and I kind of wish I was on the enemy team, because being a Cleveland, going against destroyers is probably pretty much a fest of making coins if you pull it off correctly, because the Cleveland is a very good ship to go against destroyers. Now, the enemy team do have a good amount of destroyers. Actually, the enemy team is much more balanced, because they got 4 destroyers, 4 cruisers, and 3 battleships with a carrier. So their team is more well fitted in the sense of most situations, but we do have a lot of destroyers, and if there were a lot of destroyers, it would have been better if we were playing a game of domination, but it isn't. We're playing standard battle. Let's see how this is gonna go. Now, they do have a Texas and a New York with an Arkansas beta and a Bogue. The Bogue is probably the least thing I'll be concerned with because my anti-air. And actually, let's slow down here because I don't want to go too fast. Do have 4 destroyers, and one of those destroyers will certainly spot me at 13 kilometers, because if you look at the mini map, the circle for being spotted is already near the enemy spawn. So I'm gonna get around this island here. Let's follow this Clemson. Okay, our Texas is well in the game, and the Bogue is making his move. When I get spotted, I'm gonna launch my fighter because the fighter will help me spot destroyers or spot ships, and especially spot torpedoes. Those will be especially useful. Masuki is already spotted here. Give it a healthy lead. And not yet. Not yet, not yet. Okay, let's do it now because I want to see something. If something is around the island or above the island, then fighter will be able to spot it.
Attention, reporting a target position.
Oh, Karos. He's right around there. Let's turn starboard. Masuki is close target. Actually, let's turn port side. Keep the guns bear to the starboard side, because we're gonna engage this the Masuki. He doesn't realize I'm around this corner, so there's a good chance for me to unload hell on him. Slow down. And why does it do that? Why does the camera angle turns instantly to the rear? He still doesn't know I'm here. Kind of got an idea, but looks like the Masuki made the right choice to get away from me. Carl's showing broadside. We're gonna fire on him.
Torpedo, dead ahead.
Oh yeah, those torpedoes are coming. Come on, Citadel. I think the only way you can Citadel Carlos is the boiler room, not the guns. Oh yeah, there we go. Sure, broadside against a Cleveland is quite a mistake, isn't it, Carlos? I was hoping for another Citadel. Now this one is the Citadel. What? Someone's trying to take my kill at the same time. Oh, Isokase. Unbelievable. This man in the Carls. And someone took the kill. That's just great. Logic in this game. See, low health ship, better shoot at it. Full health ship, don't shoot at it. Wait. That seems to be the most common logic. Cause I swear, nobody shoots at the ship that's not low health, and when I get low health, everyone starts shooting at it. Looks like the enemy team decided to put their entire force to their flag instead, so regrouping them. Gonna try to take out the Masuki here. Pop the smoke. Yeah, they send their entire force this side. No big deal. Let's kill the Masuki first. Masuki! Where are you? Oh yeah, he's booking it. Now I aim to this side because I'm assuming he's gonna try to dodge it, but he didn't. I thought he would turn port side to dodge my shells. So I'm just gonna keep firing on him. There he. Come on, turn port side. Show me it. Oh my gosh. Oh, they're gonna collide. And it disappeared. No hits? Really? Omaha showing broadside. Oh yeah, that should be a Citadel. No? Let's cut the speed because Omaha does have torpedo armaments.
Torpedoes to port.
Is that Omaha's torpedo? I think it was. Okay, let's load some HE. Start turning our port side and head toward the flag. Texas seems to be a viable target. Now the Busuki is still here, so I'm assuming there's gonna be some sort of torpedoes coming in this direction. Is he going to bring the dive bombers here? He has no chance. Oh yeah, torpedoes coming this way. Oh come on, I don't want to get hit by a torpedo here. Nor do I want to get Citadel by that Texas. No, 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 no. Oh my gosh. Gotta take one. Yeah. Take one to the rear. I was a little confused when I was looking backwards on how to turn my ship. I had it perfectly positioned. Texas seems to beach himself. The last thing he would do. I didn't realize that it was flooding. Luckily, our damage control was still immune to the fire. How many ships are alive? Oh, they only got 4 ships alive. Let's get this Molotov out of here. Or, if I want to say, let's set the Molotov on fire. Masuki's right here. Masuki, we'll meet again. It's gonna be a tough target hit anyways. Oh gosh, I'm in no position to actually engage like this. Let's turn away from the Molotov here. Hopefully he will give me enough time to actually turn. And let's retreat. Completely outrange now. Nope. Alright, our destroyer is trying to capture the flag. And I'm gonna be the distraction, at least. Turn our guns to starboard. New York is about to get in range of our guns. Oh yeah, he's in range. Gonna keep firing broadside on this guy. New York, so screwed. Come on, give me that kill. Oh, just when they got there. Oh, we always got the Arkansas Beta. Why not? cut the speed. I don't want to get too close to the Arkansas beta. He's still capable of setting me on, what do they call? Citadeling me. Not setting me on fire, but citadeling. Citadel is the last thing I need to get on a Cleveland. Oh, we got Confederate. We gotta start turning around because that Molotov is probably gonna shoot at me because I'm showing broadside against him and I'm pretty close. Oh yes, set him on fire. High caliber? I could use one of those. Oh, don't run aground now. He is firing in several places of his ship. Let's try aim for the bow so we can set more fires. You guys are curious, if you aim on different parts of the ship and already set them on fire, then you can't really do more fire on the fires already set, if you know what I'm saying. So if you aim at a place where there's not set on fire, you can set a fire. Oh, he's burning to death. Oh yeah. He was a dead man. Molotov is the last target. Those torpedo planes look like they got a real good chance of sending. Oh yeah, they have a good chance. They're armed. He's dead. He's gotta be dead. Yeah. That was a pretty good match. Surprisingly. 305,000 coins. 2 citadels. 12 fire set. 3 kills. 210 hits. 5 planes shot down. Total amount damage 115,000. Confederate and high caliber. This placed me on the top of the leaderboard. Detailed report. We did the most damage on the Arkansas, along with the Texas, and the Omaha for shooting AP with the Carls, and the New York. Masuki, I was hoping to do some damage more on the Masuki, but he was a tricky target, and my shell time was hanging too long. Aside from that, I hope you guys enjoyed this Cleveland video, and I'll see you guys next time on World of Warships.